So I'm out on one of the hikes that I like to do, and I'm realizing that, sometimes when you hike in a new area, you can find yourself in a predicament that you just were not planning out on. So as I look around here, my intent was to kind of follow this trail and see where it would take me, and then right in the middle of it, there's a freaking fence. But that kind of reminds me, whenever you run into a situation that you were not expecting, that sometimes you need to be prepared. It's like a really nice day today. I'm about 45 minutes away from Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania, and it's a beautiful landscape. The fall colors are out. I thought I would come out here and enjoy myself. But what if you find yourself in a similar situation where you thought you had everything that you needed, specifically for your everyday carry, and then you realize that you absolutely don't? What's the solution for that? I think similar to me packing and having a lot of extra stuff for this hike, I would say you might want to have an extra kit for emergencies at the ready. Let me explain. All right, so you get to a place where you feel like you got everything that you needed, but you realize you forgot a bunch of crap that day. You might want to bring yourself an extra kit or pack alongside you. That tends to be my solution for these type of scenarios. Like, just bring extra kit. So you could always just pack a small emergency kit and just keep it with you at all times. Keep it in the armrest of your truck, bring it in your bag, whatever. Of course, I have in my pocket my knife for the day, but if I did forget it, you can pack a small EDC pouch. I've talked about this before. This is actually my travel pouch that I use when I'm traveling. This is just for demonstration purposes only, but you can put stuff in here that you may need. So you normally keep a flashlight in your pocket. You normally keep a knife in your pocket. You forgot both of them that day, put both of those items in here. Anything to just make sure you have exactly what you're going to need for that day, because A, you actually may need it and have to use it that day. B, you may just mentally get a little disturbed when you don't have the gear that you need, because I know sometimes it can mess up my psyche when I'm missing the gear that I want and I want to use that day. But that's the first thing. In an EDC emergency, if you forget your kit, pack an extra one, put it in your armrest. It could be small, doesn't have to be super extensive. If I were to forget something and I find myself a scenario, especially like I'm out in the woods or something like that, but I would still want my kit with me just in case. There's also a second EDC emergency that we have to think about. And that specifically is if you're the type of person that wears a sling bag, or if you wear a backpack, kind of like what I'm doing today, there's a possibility that your actual bag strap could break. It could rip, it could tear. Now, I mean, there are some solutions for that. Imagine you're out, right now I'm probably about 2 miles away from my hotel. And as nice as it is out here, I would prefer not to be walking all the way back to my hotel by carrying this bag like it's a strap. It is pretty nice out here though. If that were to happen to you, you got a couple of solutions. One would be to buy a better bag. That probably would prevent the breaking of your strap itself, so that's not going to directly affect the bag that you're wearing. But I'm wearing the Vertex Gamut 3.0 bag, very durable straps on it. And I don't really have any concerns about it breaking. I'm not wearing like a Jan Sport bag or anything like that. If you're wearing a cheaper bag and you're worried about that type of stuff, you may just want to get yourself a better bag next go round. The second thing would be to carry some 550 cord. Some paracord or 550 cord, 550 pounds of test strength. I've talked about this plenty of times before. Then you can jimmy rig up something to at least make it so that you can put your bag back on. You can get through the situation. You can continue on with your hike or your ruck or your survival situation. It's an EDC emergency. It's the second one. It's the one that could happen next. EDC emergency. You've made it through not having your kit. You figured out your bag breaking like a knucklehead. The next thing you have to think about is your cell phone dying at a critical moment. Now, you probably don't want that happening, especially if you're doing something like I'm doing today. I'm rucking in an area that I've never been before, and I am using it for its map purposes. I've downloaded this local area as an offline map, just in case I do lose cell phone signal, which I've done a couple of times. But I've downloaded that so that I have the ability to use this to find my way back out of these situations. But at the same time, I don't want my freaking phone to die. You already know my solution for that. In my bag, I have the Core 10,000 milliamp hour battery bank. We've talked about this thing before. It's waterproof. It is pretty sleek looking, carbon fiber. Gets the job done for me. I don't want my phone or any of my devices dying, especially in an area I've never been before. I'm out here trying to enjoy some of the fall foliage because we don't get this in Texas. We don't get all these beautiful colors. If I get lost, I'm gonna kind of be stuck like Chuck. Same thing with you. Battery bank, 5,000, 10,000. I'll link a few down below that I like to use in an EDC emergency. But this is a legit thing, okay? Maybe not a normal emergency for some of us, some folks that aren't worried about this stuff too often, but for those of us that actually want to get out and about, or you're gone all day, you're at a carnival, a fair, the amusement park, Disney World, hiking, rucking, whatever you're doing, at the mall, be prepared and be ready to rock and roll. All right, this next one has happened to the best of us. You decided to just insert the tip. Ladies, you know the procedures. What I'm talking about is just using the tip of your EDC knife that's not a fixed blade. It's not a pry bar. It's nothing you should be doing anything silly with. You've taken the tip of that knife and you've decided to do something silly like try to pry something apart or use it to pick you have a rusted lock that you seems like, oh, I could get it off if I just give it a little bit of a nudge. You have a carabiner that's stuck. You got two pieces of meat together. There's all sorts of things that could happen. Maybe something stuck under a rock. You decide to use your EDC knife in a place where you should be using a slotted or a pry bar. And you break the little tip. It's happened to me before. This is, like I mentioned earlier, my Tactico F2 Bravo. This is not a type of knife. This is a little, you know, it's a little skittish knife. This knife is not normally used to being used in ways such as prying it or trying to use it to loosen two things apart. That's what this is not for. What's the solution for that? I talked about an entire backup kit in this situation. Maybe you don't have an entire backup kit, but at least have a backup knife by itself, or just don't use your knife in those idiotic ways. The easiest solution is to carry an additional knife with you. I keep one in the cab of my truck. I don't normally always have an EDC pack with me every single day, but I mean, situations like now, I'm rucking, I'm hiking, I'm doing whatever, I'll have an extra knife with me. But if I'm just riding around, running errands, I got several of my kids with me, the likelihood that I have an extra knife on my body is almost zero. I don't carry two knives, but I do keep an extra knife in the vehicle for that EDC emergency when I break just the tip. Don't just use just the tip, okay? Don't do that. You know, something I absolutely hate that happens whenever I am in an EDC situation is the flashlight that I thought I was going to use that day absolutely does not work. For you, it's more likely going to be your seldom used flashlight doesn't work. Seldom used meaning it's a flashlight you keep in your kitchen drawer, you keep in your vehicle, you keep in your toolbox, whatever. You don't use it very often. It's not charged. The batteries are corroded. They're dead. One's missing. Someone stole it to stick it in a remote in a hotel room, whatever. So I keep a flashlight on me at all times, and I would prefer that I have it for full usage whenever I want it. But I also carry a backup as well. The redundancy in this video is pretty self-explanatory, but even without mentioning the actual keeping an extra flashlight, there's also the situations of checking and using your gear. Checking your gear periodically. I keep a lot of things in my truck that I can't just ignore. Radios and fire extinguishers and tools and things that can get wet, things that can rot, things that can expire, such as emergency water. Checking your gear periodically to make sure that it actually works. That's number one. Number two is, if you're going to think you're going to need it, especially for that day, it's called everyday carry for a specific reason. You want to make sure that everything is ready to rock and roll. A lot of you freaking peasants are going to ensure that your iPhone is nice and ready to rock and roll at the beginning of the day. A lot of you freaking peasants are going to ensure that your, what is that shit called? The iWatch, the Apple Watch, whatever it is. You're going to make sure that thing is ready to charge and be ready for the day. Why would you not ensure that your emergency items are ready for the day as well? It just kind of it oftentimes just blows my mind that when we get into a different situation, whether I'm with some of my buddies, their spare tire isn't ready to rock and roll. They don't have the jack in their car anymore. They don't have the ability to get gas if we were to run out. They're willing to roll the dice. Like, I'm the type of guy, I can't let my vehicle get below 1/4 the tank because it just makes me a little paranoid. Same thing when it comes to stuff like my EDC gear and flashlights and stuff like that. Maybe you're okay with it, but nah, that's something that I would absolutely think about as well. Here's a bonus item for you. You might decide that you actually thought that you had your keys with you that day and you really don't. Now, a lot of us probably can't keep an extra set of vehicle keys unless, it actually came with your vehicle or you go make some more. But if you can keep some spare keys for your house with you, go get an extra set of keys made for your house. I think that's pretty doable. I do that all the time. I keep a spare key. So if I lose all my keys, I have the ability at a minimum to actually still get inside my house, even though I have electronic codes and stuff on my doors. That's a bonus tip. If you lose your keys, first, be prepared to change all your locks, vehicles, house, all that. Second, keep a spare set so you can get inside of your own house and all of that good stuff. Hey, comment down below, what are some EDC emergencies that you absolutely think about happening, you don't want to happen, you fear that they may happen, and you prepare yourself for every day? If any of my list of 5 doesn't make any sense to you, comment down below as well. Tell me to pound sand. I would love to know your comments. If this is your first time stopping by, hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you a part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, I'm not talking to you, okay? You've already done what you needed to do. I appreciate you once again coming by, watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.